I've always felt that dying with dignity was something that I was going to do if I ever got sick enough to do it. But when people see an alive person, I'm not laying in a ball crying. I am fully functional, and I have made a conscious choice.
There it is, right? The conscious choice.
Yeah, that we talked about.
We did. We just talked about that in the segment prior. I've been looking forward to our next guest. Dr. Stefanie Green is somebody who has done the general practitioner, has done the obstetrics, and now MAiD physician. And Linda,
she's also an author. We should show her book as well.
Yes, we should.
Let's have a look at the book, because this just came out a little while ago. This is Assisted Dying, and this is a must read. And we are going to talk to the woman who wrote it. Dr. Stefanie Green is a MAiD provider. Thank you so much for coming in studio.
Thanks for having me.
Can we get some of the politics out of the way first? Because in March, people with mental illness as their sole medical condition were supposed to be able to access MAiD. Right. And then there was a big outcry, and so the government has kind of said, okay, we're going to delay this. We don't know when that's going to go forward. How do you feel about it? Do you think people with mental illnesses should be able to access MAiD?
You know, I'm going to just say that it's not really up to me. It's really up to constitutional experts and legal scholars in this country, and the decision's actually already been made. The court has already spoken. In fact, people sometimes mistakenly talk about this as an expansion of our law. It's not that at all. This is a restoration of the rights of those with mental health disorders to access the same privileges in healthcare that they were granted by the Carter decision. Our government temporarily excluded that, and we're talking about how soon we're going to restore that.
Interesting.
So that's my take.
I love that you've prefaced that with, it's really not up to me. Yet people probably come to you and perhaps blame you for there being access for some. So take us historically.
Sure.
When did this begin for you and for Canadians? Because this is not new elsewhere in the world.
No, so it's easy to go back all the way to Sue Rodriguez, our BC-born, Victoria-based woman who really brought this subject to light in the 90s when her case came forward. She challenged the prohibition of assisted dying in Canada. She famously lost that fight at the Supreme Court, but it was pretty close. And she really kick-started a national conversation. I mean, her story really tugged at the heart of many Canadians. I was in medical school at the time, and I was doing a bioethics course. And so rather than stick to the textbook, we just took the headlines out of the newspaper and started talking about that case.
Really?
So it really had, I'm sure, an impact on me. I then left the topic for a long time, but Canadians kept talking. The main change, of course, was in 2015 when the next decision came from the High Court, the Carter case, as we call it. A group of people got together, and that unanimous decision at the High Court in this country said that it's not that Canadians have a right to have assisted dying, it's that a blanket prohibition of this care is an infringement on people's rights. So it's a little bit flipped. But that's important because in that decision, they didn't say, if you have a mental health disorder, you don't qualify, or if you have dementia, you don't qualify. They said, all Canadians qualify as long as these criteria have been met. And the government then responded to that decision by legislating the law that would regulate this practice, and they made it more restrictive. They added an element where they said that a patient, in order to qualify, there's a whole list of things that needed to happen, but one of them they added, which was not in the original decision, was that their death had to be reasonably foreseeable. And essentially, by creating that requirement, they blocked anyone with a mental health disorder as their only underlying illness from really getting through the gate, because very few people could say that. There were exceptions. There were people with mental health disorders that did make it through that gate, but very, very few.
Yeah, you know, dementia, you mentioned that, and this is one of the things I really wanted to talk to you about, is we both have that personal experience, and I know for sure that if I get the bad spin of the wheel and I get that diagnosis, that's the route I'd like to go. But it was my understanding that you can't do advance consent. So can I get MAiD if I'm diagnosed with dementia?
So that is the question I'm asked at every single talk, presentation, lecture, party I have spoken about MAiD. So you are not alone in that question. I want to be clear that, as I said, there's no exclusion for people with dementia or neurocognitive problems. The thing is, can that person meet all of the required criteria? It's a very rigorous system, and the tension for people with dementia is whether they can be in what's called an advanced state of decline, which is required by the law, and still have capacity to make this decision. Can both those things be true at the same time? I would say that it can be true. It's complicated. It's not every patient who will make that rigorous assessment successfully, but there are some, and I have helped people with dementia under our current law find MAiD and be helped by that. So yes, it is possible. It's just that it's not possible for everyone.
So for somebody watching right now is like, hold on, wait a minute, Dr. Green. So somebody sitting there perhaps has this in their family, is wondering, how do I make certain that I have that option to be considered in that way? Is it something you put in your will? Is there something that you give to your person whose power of attorney?
So that would make sense, but none of those things are available. So MAiD can only be triggered by the patient themselves, and not on the patient's behalf by anyone else, no matter what is written in the lawyer's office, no matter what your healthcare representation is.
Right.
So the way to make it a possibility is that once there's a diagnosis, if that's something you want to explore, you speak to a MAiD practitioner and have the conversation. What is wrong? What's the diagnosis? What are you fearful of? What could we do to help support that? What other options are there? Get to know that patient, get to know the practitioner, and then you meet on a regular basis, maybe every 6 months, to document the changes. There's a model of care that some people call 10 minutes to midnight. Midnight is not when you turn into a pumpkin. Midnight is at the point after which you no longer have the capacity to make your own healthcare decisions. We know that people with dementia will eventually get there, but it's not a flick of a switch. There's some fluctuations there. If I see a patient early on and see them on a regular basis over the course of months and years and document their decline and really get to know them, I would argue that there's a time, what I call 10 minutes to midnight, when the patient is already in an advanced state of decline, but still has a small window of capacity left. Now, some people will lose that insight, no longer want MAiD, feel just fine as they go through their dementia. Other people will be very adamant. I know it's coming. You're telling me it's coming. I see it's coming. I feel it's coming. I don't want that. This is what I want. Some people are able to still express that strong desire at 10 minutes to midnight, and some of those patients can qualify.
What do you do if, I as the patient decided I wanted to have MAiD, I qualified, but my family was against it?
Yeah, for me, that is the worst case scenario. I try very hard to include family in every situation. It is only leading to bigger problems and complicated grief if we can't get people at the same table to understand what's happening. Ultimately, however, professional obligations and law require that if the patient looks at me, if you say to me, don't you call my children, I'm not giving you permission to tell them about this, I don't want them to, I cannot professionally go to them and say, hey, do you know your mom's considering this?
Wow.
So I try my best to talk to you about why I think it's important to bring your kids in. I try my best to tell your kids why I think they should listen to you. I try to establish a respectful scene, a place where you can speak to each other comfortably, honestly, and respectfully. Even if you don't agree, just having that conversation can be really powerful, and maybe the first time people are listening to each other. But I still have to respect the law and my professional obligations.
So in your experience, Dr. Green, Stefanie, sorry, is it Stefanie? The connection that you have with the patient, and then you do have the family there. And you've gone through all of the rigorous, red tape, for lack of a better word, to get to when you tell the patient you've been approved for this. Tell us what that's like.
For me, that was a little bit surprising. The power of that moment to the patient has been extraordinary. I find that once we've been through that rigorous process, I sit down and I say to someone, you're eligible for this care. That doesn't mean they're going to have MAiD. That doesn't mean they have to have MAiD, but it means they can. They become empowered in that moment. And virtually every time I say that, like over 99% of the time, I will see a physical transformation in the patient. I see them relax. I see their head nod. I see them have a little smirk sometimes. They immediately thank me. I am certain, after 6.5 years of doing this, I am certain that is therapeutic in and of itself to offer this possibility to someone. And often it reduces their suffering enough that they'll delay a little. Or that they might not even, they stop worrying about how they're going to die, and they start planning how they're going to spend their final days and weeks and months. They start focusing on life.
Love that.
It's an incredible transformation, physically, emotionally, mentally. And for me, I think that 80% of my job is done when I say those words to a patient.
When you talk about your job as a doctor, you take the Hippocratic Oath to do no harm. How do you square that circle when you are, I mean, literally helping end someone's life?
I think you said the key word. It's help. What doctors do, we help people, right? There's that old expression, which I love. I always forget the order of it. We cure sometimes, we care often, and we comfort always. That is the goal. And no matter what we said in our med school interviews, and we all said a variety of things to get through the door, the truth is most people go into medicine to help people. And essentially, we like to cure more often, but essentially what we do is we help people. And I'm facilitating someone's final wish. I'm helping someone. I don't feel that I'm doing anything negative. I'm helping facilitate a person's final wish. It's incredibly meaningful work.
I had the opportunity to interview you on radio a number of years ago, and I am forever changed by that interview because on your resume it says I was GP, then I was an obstetrician, and then I decided to do this. And when I asked you why, or what changed there, and you explained bringing people into the world and also helping them exit.
It's really similar. Yeah, I should probably say that I wasn't an obstetrician. I'm a family physician.
Family physician, sorry.
Focused on maternity care. Lest anyone claim I'm falsely presenting myself.
Tell me this. Yeah. Tell us the story.
Well, not realizing it when I began this work, I was passionate about my work in maternity care. I really loved it. I was doing it for over 22 years. And I think most people in that field, I'd like to think most people in that field really recognize there's an art to doing that work well. There's a certain choreography about recognizing when you have prepared someone, you've prepared the family. When you walk into the room to do the delivery, to help them through the labor and delivery, there's a lot of intensity, a lot of emotion.
Terrified.
Yeah, it's a pretty important day in your life. There's family dynamics happening. Should the mother-in-law be allowed in or not, right? At what time is she allowed in? There's a lot going on, a lot of fear. And I am not the most important person in the room. Clearly the dyad, the mom and the soon-to-be baby, I mean, they're important. So I'm like acutely involved and really privileged to be there to hand the baby to mom the first time. It's extraordinary work.
Yeah.
But as soon as that baby's out and the champagne is corked, it's not for me to stay and have champagne. It's for me to gracefully withdraw, respectfully do so, and leave the family to that. All those things I just said are exactly true in an assisted death. It's incredibly intense, it's incredibly emotional, there's a lot of family dynamics, it's one of the most important days in someone's life, and I am clearly not the most important person in the room. So the choreography around that is very similar, and I found my skill set was very transferable from one to the other. I didn't really see that at first, but I've been struck by that, and I feel incredibly lucky to have spent 2 decades in maternity care in order to prepare me to do this work.
Can you leave us with a story, without revealing any confidences, of someone who you helped pass that was like so joyous and lovely?
There's so many.
I know.
I mean, they're not all joyous,
no,
but
sure
many
not.
of them are beautiful in their own way. I mean, they're always sad to some extent. Somebody's life is ending, but they can be profound moments in someone's life and in a family's life. And I tell the story in my book of the very first person I helped is Harvey. And they were an extraordinary family, very supportive before anyone had any experience doing this. And after that rigorous process, and after my private conversation with Harvey, after having prepared the family, that moment in that room has forever changed me. You know, Harvey was there. He was being held by his grown children. They were touching him or holding him, both of them. His wife was sitting on a chair, pulled up close to him on his right. I was holding his left arm. All of us were touching. There was a physical connection between all of us. And he and his wife, he was married for 52 years. He wanted to make it to 52 years. He did, and very soon after he had his MAiD event. And they were literally connected there, forehead to forehead, whispering to each other as I began giving the medicine. She held his face, she stroked his head, she told him it was okay, that she loved him and that she would miss him, but that she was going to be okay. She whispered something I couldn't hear. He smiled as he was falling asleep, and the intimacy of that moment was extraordinary. And I literally struggled to focus on what I was doing. You know, I seen that beauty, that beautiful closure between them. It was an extraordinary end to a man's life who was deeply loved by his family and in their arms as he passed. You know, her words were the last words he heard as he fell asleep.
I just got a whole shiver down my back.
I'm starting to cry.
Oh,
That's
okay,
powerful. That is powerful. You have to come back.
Yeah.
Please come back.
Are you crying over there?
I am.
Yeah, I mean, it was beautiful. What you do is powerful and important, and thank you for that.
Thanks for the opportunity.
And thank you for coming in. Pleasure. Dr. Stefanie Green is a MAiD provider. You need a Kleenex.
I do.
Yeah.
It's the emotion of the intimacy that was just explained there, the importance of the presence of love and family.
Yeah.
And this isn't just a political,
It's about choice.
It's about choice.
And how you end your life.
I'll get myself together because we got more to talk about here and it's serious.
Coming up next on Steele and Vance, would lifting COVID mandates help ease the shortage of healthcare workers in BC? We're going to talk about that when we come back.